Hey everyone, welcome back. So our 2023-2024 season previews continue on today with the Anaheim Ducks. So Anaheim, obviously they're coming off of a awful season. There's no question about that. But regardless, now, after they got past probably the worst year of the rebuild, they should be starting to make this turnaround. Again, apologies for the sound, the graphics, and the lighting, obviously, because, I'm away for the weekend, so... Regardless, so this year Anaheim went 23, 47, and 12 for 58 points. They were 32nd in the NHL, and they missed the playoffs. So they were dead last, and it was a brutal year, a lot of injuries. The team was just painful to watch, especially towards the end of the season. I remember I tuned into a game where they were playing Colorado, and they were up 5-3 with 3 minutes left, and they blew it and lost in overtime. It was an absolutely just brutal season for them for sure. But regardless, it should get better from here. Their departures list is as follows. They left Anthony Stolarz, Kevin Shattenkirk, Derek Grant, and Max Comtois are all the guys that have left this past year. So obviously Stolarz, not a bad backup goaltender, but they're making room for Lucas Tostel to come in and take that backup role. Kevin Shattenkirk, not a bad defenseman. He's now off in Boston. Derek Grant was a good, bottom six player, but nothing more than that. And then Comtois, he's been struggling for a long time, and there may be something else there involving Hockey Canada. We're going to find that out very, very soon. Your arrivals list here as well is also relatively short, too. You got Alex Killorn, Radko Gudas, Robert Haig, and Alex Stalock. So, obviously, there, Killorn, good top six forward. Obviously, and yeah, that contract was a bit of an overpay, understandable, but that was going to happen regardless. He was going to get his money anyways. It stinks, but it's just the way it went. Gudas as well, confusing contract there too because he's older, but not a bad defender either. You want to fill in spots there. And then Robert Haig there too, a good, solid depth defender. And Alex Stalock, not a bad third-string goalie there whatsoever. So yeah, again, their arrivals list and their departures list is relatively short. They didn't make too many moves. I guess you could include Leo Carlsson on that list there for arrivals because obviously he was drafted this past year. And there should also be guys too that come up into the lineup as well this year and get some time there for sure. So we'll look at the lineup here. Top six, you got Adam Henrique, Trevor Zegras, and Troy Terry. Then you got Alex Killorn, Mason McTavish, and Ryan Strome on the second line. So obviously they're not a bad top six whatsoever. It's weaker than others in the league for sure. Having Henrique as your first line left wing is concerning. But regardless, I would imagine guys like Killorn there are going to get some time too. But yeah, overall a relatively young but not bad top six. McTavish coming into his second season. Trevor Zegras is yet to even be signed to a contract. So, of course, if that happens over this coming weekend, we will talk about that. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot coming from that. Your bottom six is as follows here. You got Frank Vetrano, Isaac Lundestrom, and Jacob Silverberg. Then you got Brock McGinn, Sam Carrick, and Zach Jones. Then for some extra players, you got Sasa Pasujov, Benoit Oliver Groux, and you got Brendan Liason there as well. So not a terrible bottom six. Still has some improvements. Lundestrom actually is going to be hurt for the start of the season most likely, so don't expect him to be in the lineup there. This is just their projected fully healthy depth chart. This is also via the Hockey News, by the way, so before you come at me, I didn't make these lines. But yeah, overall, not a terrible bottom six, but it needs to get better before they're going to be a legitimate team. They're still going to be probably one of the worst teams in the NHL for another 2 to 3 years. But once they start improving those young guys, I think is when we'll see things get a lot better. So yeah, Anaheim expecting another year of being just kind of in the midst of things. Defense here, you got Cam Fowler and Jamie Drysdale as your first pairing. Then you got Jackson Lacombe and Radko Gudas as your second pairing. Then you got Robert Haig and Drew Hellison as your third pairing. Then you got Colin White, Trevor Carrick, and someone who I didn't mention in the graphic or anything like that is actually Pavel Mintyukov. He could be coming over this coming season, so I would expect that for that to possibly happen there for sure. But yeah, overall, it's an okay defense. That was their biggest factor, and that is my biggest X factor for this coming season is their defense. Last season it was their X factor as well because their defense faced a lot of injuries. I think Jamie Drysdale could be a player that comes up huge this coming year for Anaheim, could have a much better season, obviously because he's missed a lot of time, but then again, you miss a lot of time, you could be worse, so it kind of goes both ways if we're being honest with you there. Goaltending is basically the same. You got John Gibson and Lucas Tostal, then you got Alex Stalock as your third string goalie. Not a bad tandem there whatsoever. But that's another big X factor too. There is John Gibson and Dostal. They got to have another good year if they want to be better for sure. Because Gibson just didn't look like him, to be honest with you, this past year, and neither did the entire team. The biggest question is literally what I just said: are they the better team? Are they going to be a better team this coming season? I would say yes, but not by a lot. And the only reason why they're going to be better is probably because a team like San Jose is getting worse. This team just seems like they're pretty much the same, basically. It doesn't make sense signing guys like Killorn and Gudez when they're not going to be a contending team this year. And then by the time they are contending, the Killorn contract and the Gudez contract are still going to be going, and they're going to be out of their primes, basically. And they're already starting that decline out of their prime. So I'm a little bit confused there on where Anaheim's trying to go, but regardless, it should have some kind of purpose, and I guess we'll find out. Your point projections here are per the Hockey News' fantasy guide. They go as follows. Troy Terry, number 1, was 68. Zegras in second was 67. McTavish in third was 63. Killorn in fourth with 53. And then Adam Henrique in fifth there with 44. So obviously probably going to be another weak season out of Anaheim. Your sleep warrior bust is Jamie Drysdale, as I mentioned. A torn labrum limited Jamie Drysdale to 8 games during what was supposed to be a breakout season, with the Ducks ushering in a corp of talented forwards. Drysdale playmaking from the blue line is perfect compliment. So obviously they're going to need a good year out of him. They want that blue line to improve for sure. And, guys like, Mintyukov and Jackson Lacombe are expected to make the jump from their minor leagues over to the NHL, or at least start playing in the AHL with San Diego. So obviously that's another thing that you expect out of Anaheim there for sure. But regardless, there's not much to say about Anaheim. Obviously, they're going to be probably bad again this year. It's unfortunate to admit because they've been bad for a very long time. So it stinks, but they're going to start hopefully trending in the right direction starting with this year. We probably just went through the worst year of it, and now they'll get even more high draft picks to solidify the team even more. So yeah, that does it for your 23-24 season preview for the Anaheim Ducks. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it. I think Toronto's tomorrow. I think tomorrow is Toronto. So it's going to be a very interesting one tomorrow. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.